Noor is a young guy living in the fantasy world, known for being strong for his age and well-liked by everyone in town. He works a physically demanding job, and even his boss is impressed with his work, never saying a bad word about him because he's the best worker they've ever had. One day, after getting his daily wage, he was heading home when he suddenly heard a woman screaming for help from a nearby cave. Without a second thought, he ran toward the sound, ignoring his boss's warning that it could be dangerous. He rushed into the cave and found a girl trapped in magical barbed wire, while a group of adventurers was fighting a giant demon bull. Since he was a kid, Noor had always taken care of his sick mother and the household because his father never came back with the milk. He accepted the responsibility and began managing the house. His mother was bedridden most of the time, so Noor would make her hot soup, covered in soot, and tell her he was going to hunt rabbits so she could have some protein for dinner. His mother would apologize for not being able to give him anything in life, but Noor, always brave, would reassure her that he didn't need anything. That night, Noor made a delicious rabbit soup for his mother, but when he returned to feed her, she had already passed away. Now, poor Noor had no one left to call family. He buried his mother outside their home and decided not to be weak or cry. From that moment, he lived alone, taking care of the garden, hunting, raising livestock, and studying in his room after cleaning it thoroughly. He trained his body by catching wild fish, carrying heavy loads up mountains, and eating a lot of protein every day. One lonely night, he climbed up on a chair and grabbed an old dusty storybook, starting to read. The stories reminded him of when his family was still together, and his father would tell him tales about mighty adventurers fighting giant dragons, learning magic from wizards, lifting curses from haunted forests, and battling fairy armies. Those stories always captivated him because his father would say that an adventurer's job was to protect the weak and make sure they never got hurt. That inspired Noor to do something with his life, so the next day, after taking care of the animals, he packed up and headed to the city to try becoming an adventurer. He spent nights in the forest with a campfire and, by the next morning, arrived at the kingdom's beautiful city. Entering through the massive main gate, he was amazed by the number of people walking around the marketplace, selling their goods, and others buying swords and fruit in the same place. As he wandered, he saw a man with a sword and decided to follow him, leading him to the Adventurers Guild. He walked inside to find a large hairy man at the reception instead of a thickly bearded girl. Disappointed, he told the man he wanted to become an adventurer, but the guy brushed him off, saying this wasn't a place for kids and that he should think about his parents. Noor replied that his parents had passed away, which caught the overweight man's attention, and he told Noor to head to the training school first. Noor was confused, but the man explained that to join the guild, he needed to choose a school, go through basic training, pick a class, and learn skills. Only after graduating could he become an adventurer. Excited by the information, Noor eagerly headed to the school, aiming to become the strongest swordsman. He enrolled and started swordsmanship training, but even after weeks of practice, while other students were awakening their magical potential, Noor had no magical abilities. He kept at it and months passed, after which the instructor told him he had no talent and was wasting his time there, suggesting he try another school because he clearly wasn't cut out to be a swordsman. Noor didn't give up and found another school, deciding to train as a warrior. He started training under a big red-haired man, but even after intense training for several months, the red-haired guy told him he wasn't talented for that either since all he had learned was how to block attacks. Noor then tried several other schools. First as a hunter, but he was expelled. Then he tried being a thief, but was rejected for lack of talent. Finally, he tried being a mage, but that failed too. Desperately, he even tried becoming a healer, but that didn't work out either, leaving him dejected. The overweight man was shocked to hear that, after spending months in every school, Noor hadn't learned a single skill and told him that, unfortunately, he couldn't do anything to become an adventurer. Feeling down, Noor left the city and returned to his cabin in the forest. But he refused to give up and set up his own training area with a sword, determined to perfect the one move he had learned: blocking and deflecting incoming attacks. He spent his days refining that technique day and night. Eventually, after a year of hard training, he could block 10 attacks at once. He kept going, and after 3 years he could block 100 swords simultaneously, but he still hadn't learned any new skills. He kept at it relentlessly until his sword broke. 14 years passed, and during that time, he realized he had trained every single day and could now block 1,000 swords without fail. Even though he had worked this hard, he didn't gain any new skills but decided to return to the Adventurers Guild one more time. This time, he met a young girl who checked his skill list and suggested he visit the training school. Noor told her he had already done all that, and she was shocked, telling him he didn't have enough skills to become an adventurer. Once again, Noor felt defeated. The overweight man came out, barely recognizing Noor, and they sat down to chat over drinks. Noor told him about his years of training. The overweight man explained that adventurers are ranked from E to S, but even to be an E- you needed at least one skill which Noor didn't have. Noor felt sad, but the overweight man mentioned there was a lesser-known rank below E called F. There were some restrictions for F-ranked adventurers, as they couldn't take killing missions or work in the forests outside the city. They were limited to manual jobs in the city, but nobody really wanted to do that. Without hesitation, Noor accepted and finally got his adventurer's license. He started doing odd jobs around the city, like lifting heavy things, finding lost cats, and continuing his nightly training. He also took on jobs helping the elderly by cooking for them. While doing all this, he kept training and seemed content working as an adventurer who could actually help people. Now, back to the present, the giant bull charged toward the adventurers, knocking their leader against the wall with its axe. Noor rushed to check, but the leader was already dead. Looking back, he saw the others being skewered by the bull as it killed everyone in the area effortlessly before setting its sights on the white-haired girl. Noor's body moved instinctively. He threw a rock at the bull to distract it and then sprinted away. The beast chased him with shocking speed, and Noor realized he couldn't outrun it, so he turned and blocked the bull's attack. To his surprise, his block was so powerful that the bull was thrown against the wall. The monster got back up and lunged through the dust to strike Noor again, but once more, Noor deflected the attack. He realized that if he missed even one block, he would die. He searched for an opening but knew he didn't have any offensive skills to launch a counterattack. His sword started cracking, and the beast turned toward the girl, charging at her. Noor immediately used his featherstep ability, boosting his speed to appear in front of the bull and block its attack again, at the cost of his own sword. He remembered his father's words about an adventurer protecting the weak, even at the cost of their own life, so he stood firm with his broken sword. This time, when the monster attacked, Noor deflected it with all his strength, causing the bull's axe to bounce back and cleanly decapitate the beast before getting stuck in the stone. The girl was shocked as blood splattered across the area, but the magical barbed wire disappeared from her body. Noor collapsed to the ground, staring at his broken sword, realizing how close he had come to death. The girl quickly thanked him for saving her life and asked for his name, but Noor replied that his name wasn't worth remembering and walked away. He strolled through the streets, thinking about how he almost got killed by a giant bull and realizing he needed to train even harder if he truly wanted to become an adventurer who could protect people. After Noor left, the dungeon quickly filled with guards, and it turned out the girl with white hair was Lin, from a noble family. Her personal guards arrived and started examining the dead minotaur, while covering the fallen guards with white sheets. Her guard apologized for not being there to protect her, but Lin reassured them it wasn't their fault. Soon after, a man named Dar showed up, asking if she was okay and for more details about what happened. News of the attack reached her brother, Ray, who was shocked to hear that his sister had been attacked by such a monster. Ray immediately asked Dar how the Minotaur ended up on the surface when it should have been deep in the dungeon. Dar explained that it was likely an assassination attempt. They found out that the ring Lin recently bought from a merchant contained a 90% pure mana stone, which was extremely rare and attracted the Minotaur. Ray was confused about why the Minotaur would target the mana stone, but Dar suspected that the stone was cursed by a neighboring kingdom, Derry, known for practicing dark magic. Ray agreed, given the recent border skirmishes, and now this open attack on Lin made it clear that war was imminent. Ray then asked Dar about the man who saved Lin's life, but Dar admitted they didn't know much, only that he killed the Minotaur in minutes before disappearing without leaving his name. The next morning, Noor casually went to the Adventurers Guild like nothing had happened. The big man at the guild immediately approached him, asking if he was all right. Noor looked confused, so the man explained there had been a deadly monster near his worksite last night, and he was worried. Noor didn't realize the big man was talking about the minotaur he killed, since he thought it was just a low-level bull monster because he'd defeated it so easily. The big man told Noor he was lucky to have left early because even former Rank A adventurers like himself couldn't handle such a beast. Noor wiped some dust off his face, wondering what kind of monster could be so terrifying, then thanked his luck for only encountering a giant cow. Noor asked what happened to the monster, and the big man said a mysterious guy had killed it in a single blow. Noor was shocked, thinking how strong that person must be to take down such a beast, not realizing the big man was talking about him. The big man handed Noor his daily wage but also told him he should find a more stable job, or he'd never make much money. Before Noor could respond, a hooded figure appeared behind him, calling his name. Noor turned around and saw the white-haired girl he saved the night before. He asked how she found him. Lynn apologized for following him, explaining she used a long-range detection skill to locate him. Noor joked if she learned that from the thief school, but Lynn explained she was from the mage branch, though all branches had similar skills. Noticing they were drawing attention, Lynn asked Noor if they could speak somewhere more private. Before Noor could reply, the big man pulled him aside, asking what trouble he'd gotten into. Noor denied doing anything wrong, while Lynn set up a soundproof barrier, insisting Noor follow her. They walked out of the building to a quieter area, and Lynn expressed her gratitude, not just for saving her life but for saving many people's lives. Noor still didn't realize his strength, so he downplayed it, saying Lynn was probably more capable and that he had just messed up her plans by getting involved. Lynn insisted that wasn't true. If Noor hadn't shown up, she would have died. Lynn then mentioned wanting to give him a reward, but Noor immediately said her thanks were more than enough. Lynn, however, wasn't giving up that easily. She mentioned her noble status, and that even her father wanted to thank him personally. Noor refused again, surprising Lynn since she couldn't understand why someone would turn down a reward from a noble. Lynn asked if something was bothering Noor, even offering her father's vast lands as a gift if he wished. Noor still declined, saying he didn't need anything from her, which made Lynn tear up, feeling obligated to repay him. She vowed not to leave until Noor accepted her thanks, reminding him of a time long ago. It took Noor back to when he had acted similarly with one of his instructors at the healer school, refusing to take no for an answer. In the end, the instructor gave in, agreeing to meet his father but still refusing any extravagant gifts. This memory softened Lynn's mood, and she used magic to cloak both of them as they wandered the city on their way to her home. When they arrived, Noor was awestruck, having never seen such a grand and luxurious place. They walked past the guards, and Noor started to suspect Lynn really was a noble from how rich everything looked. On the way, they encountered her personal bodyguard, Ines, who eyed Noor suspiciously, asking who he was. Lynn introduced Noor as the man who saved her life, and Ines immediately softened, saying she'd take them to the Lord. They followed Ines through a gallery until they saw a man in yellow armor waiting by the window. The man spun his spear and pointed it at Noor, demanding to know who he was. Ines ordered him to stand down, reminding him that Noor was Lynn's guest, but the man, who resembled a real-life Pikachu, mocked Noor for looking poor. Ines introduced him as Gil and told him to escort them to the room, since she still didn't fully trust Noor. They waited outside the hall while Lynn's father, Clay, spoke with her brother about the looming war. They remembered their last meeting with the King of Derry, who had insulted them and threatened war if they didn't give access to all the dungeons in their kingdom. Soon after, the doors opened, and they entered the hall. Ines and Gil knelt before their lord, but Noor, unsure of who the man in the high chair was, casually strolled up alongside Lynn. Lynn introduced Noor to her father, explaining how he had saved her life. The lord immediately stood up and approached Noor, thanking him for saving his daughter. Noor, feeling out of place, admitted he wasn't a noble and didn't know how to address one, but the lord waved it off, laughing as he shook Noor's hand and asked what reward he wanted. Noor declined, saying he didn't want any land or gold. The Lord seemed puzzled but offered Noor half of the treasure from the kingdom's oldest dungeon, which was worth more than a small country. Ray advised against it, but Noor still refused, saying he didn't want any rewards. The Lord was confused by Noor's refusal of such a grand offer. Eventually, the Lord walked back to his chair, pulling out a massive black sword from behind it, his old weapon from his adventuring days. Ray looked a bit worried, but his father reassured him that it was fine, as the sword was meant for battle, not decoration. He handed the sword to Noor, who quickly realized it was far heavier than anything he'd ever used. Thinking it was just an old sword, Noor accepted it as a gift, wanting to wrap things up so he could get back to work. The Lord asked Noor to try swinging it, and to everyone's shock, Noor swung the massive two-handed sword with one hand, creating a gust of wind around them. Noor casually commented that it was a bit heavy but that he'd get used to it, making Clay laugh in disbelief at Noor's strength. Clay then asked Noor if he'd teach Lin a few techniques since things were getting dangerous, but Noor refused, saying he had nothing to teach her, and made his way to leave. As they walked back through the gallery, Noor glanced at the sword again, thinking it was about the size of a drainpipe and wondering if it could be used to clear out gutters more efficiently. But before he could leave, Gil stepped in front of him, pressing his spear to Noor's face, challenging him to prove he was worthy of wielding such a weapon. Noor wondered if he could leave the house and get back to work. Gil led him through the corridors, and Noor had no idea where he was being taken. He just wanted to return to his job. Surprisingly, Gil took him to a training arena for a mock duel. Noor was shocked because he hadn't had a serious sparring match with anyone since his academy days. Gil grabbed a training staff and bragged about being quite famous in the capital, then asked Noor to pick his weapon. Thinking this could be a good learning opportunity, Noor chose a simple wooden sword. He figured he wouldn't stand a chance against someone like Gil but was determined to give it his best shot. Gil attacked first, thrusting his staff toward Noor, but Noor easily dodged. He could see that Gil's movements were efficient, showing years of training, but strangely, everything felt slow to Noor. He assumed Gil was holding back to avoid hurting him, thinking Noor was just a beginner. Noor called for a break, telling Gil there was no need to hold back that much. So, Gil got serious and attacked with more intensity, but it still wasn't fast enough to overwhelm Noor. Noor kept finding openings in Gil's defense whenever his attacks missed. Frustrated that none of his hits were landing, Gil decided to use a technique called Lex, where he changed the direction of his strike at the last moment. Noor dodged it, and Gil used that to launch another attack as Noor landed, but Noor dodged again and even asked Gil to increase the speed, feeling comfortable with the current pace. Gil, having given it his all, was shaken when he heard Noor casually ask for more speed. It bruised his ego, and Noor started realizing he might actually be stronger than Gil. But suddenly, Gil unleashed his special attack, faster than the speed of sound. Noor dodged at the last second and told Gil he didn't want to fight anymore. Afterward, Noor left the palace, but rumors about his abilities started spreading among the other knights. They couldn't believe Noor had dodged the captain's special attack. Some thought Noor only survived because Gil had used a practice weapon. Otherwise, Gil could have easily defeated him. Feeling defeated, Gil thought back to his past. He had always been talented with the spear, traveling the kingdom in search of strong opponents, but no one ever gave him a real challenge. He eventually joined the knights in the capital to fight monsters, as they were stronger than humans, but even monsters were no match for him. The boredom stayed. One day, while he was lazing around, the master of the sword school came to see him. Gil complained about how boring it was to be so strong, wishing someone as powerful as him would show up to make things exciting again. The master told him that one day, a student would surpass him, and Gil hoped to meet that person before he died to break the monotony. Now, Gil thought of Noor, the man who had killed a minotaur with one strike. From the start, Gil knew Noor was intriguing, but he hadn't sensed any overwhelming power from him. But during their sparring match, Gil realized Noor was far stronger than he appeared. When Noor asked him to increase the speed, Gil used his fastest attack, confident no human could survive it. When Noor dodged, Gil felt defeated, and even more so when Noor ended the match right there. Gil believed Noor had done it to save him from embarrassment in front of his men. Before leaving, Noor said he looked forward to their next meeting, which Gil took as a way of telling him to get stronger. For the first time, Gil felt like he'd found someone who could make his life exciting again. On the other hand, Noor had no idea how highly Gil thought of him. He had used body enhancement skills and a feather step technique to dodge the special attack at the last second, and if he had been even a little slower, he would have died. Noor assumed Gil had adjusted his speed just enough to give Noor a fighting chance and felt grateful because it showed how much more training he needed. The next day, Noor started cleaning out the gutters using the valuable sword he had received from the king, and he was amazed at how well it worked. Later, he sat in the forest because his construction job had been postponed due to the Minotaur incident. He wondered how to spend his time until work resumed and wanted to find a good use for the large sword. He thought it might make a grate or pizza cutter or even a barbecue spatula, but he lacked the resources to start those ventures. He tried using his fire magic and figured it was too weak to start a barbecue. Suddenly, he heard footsteps behind him and turned to find Lin approaching. Noor asked how he could help, and Lin requested to become his student so she could serve and learn from him. She was eager to assist Noor in any way he needed, but Noor turned her down, saying he couldn't teach her anything and that he was fine on his own. Lin even offered money for her training, but Noor made it clear he didn't want anything. Lin insisted that she could still be useful, and Noor struggled to get his point across. To prove herself worthy of being his student, Lin decided to show off her magic. She created an ice spear, fired it at herself, then burned it with a powerful fire spell. Next, she cut down a large tree with a small dagger using another skill and followed it up by using sword magic to explode a tree behind Noor. She was confident Noor would take her as a student after seeing all that, but he still refused. Noor realized Lin had overestimated him and thought about how to convince her that he wasn't on her level. He decided to show off one of his own skills and created a small fireball to demonstrate that he wasn't as impressive as she thought. Lin was shocked by the display. Lin remembered an old story about a boy with no talent that all the teachers used to talk about. She had always assumed it was just a cautionary tale since she couldn't believe a 12-year-old could survive full-time training at all 6 schools, while even veteran soldiers struggled. One day, the strongest mage running the magic school had shown off his small fire skill before enlarging it to demonstrate mastery. He said it had taken decades of practice to grow that tiny flame. So when Noor showed Lin his small fireball, she was stunned. It was far bigger than anything she had seen before. Noor told her that was the best he could manage, and his skills in other branches were about the same. Lin knew that the size of that fireball meant Noor had extraordinary ability, and she concluded that he must be a master in all other branches as well. Now, she felt embarrassed for being proud of the high-level skills she had just learned. Even though Noor was so much stronger than her, he had never boasted about his power and even took on the most mundane tasks to help others. Lin realized that Noor's mind and character were as strong as his body, and nothing could sway him. As a princess who would one day lead the kingdom alongside her brother, she knew she needed to be strong. She wanted to learn how to be strong from Noor, and so once again she approached him. Right after Noor left the restaurant after dinner, Lin said she finally understood how immature and pointless she had been, and now she wanted to learn even more from Noor. Lin believed that Noor's strength would become the foundation of peace and prosperity for their kingdom, so she accepted him as her teacher. But Noor, overwhelmed by all of this, just wanted to go home.